Welcome back to Left, Labor Education for Today. And in this Labor Day edition of the weekly recap, we share the top 3 stories from the world of work. And in our first story this week, we're less than a week out from the UAW contract expiration, as UAW has finally reported some progress with Stellantis, GM, and Ford. In our last update, the UAW filed unfair labor practice charges against Stellantis and GM for their alleged failure to engage in good faith bargaining. Well, this week, we saw some clear progress in the form of counterproposals from both GM and Stellantis. According to UAW President Shawn Fain, the proposals don't do nearly enough to meet the union's demands, including on wages, but also with respect to UAW's array of other demands, like retiree benefits, profit sharing, temp workers, job security, employee tiers, and work-life balance. For cost of living, for example, Ford proposed a version of a cost of living adjustment to be returned to the contract, but Fain quipped that the proposed calculation was severely lacking. The Big Three continue to stand by their proposals, with sentiments reflecting their commitment to providing strong middle-class jobs while also protecting the company's long-term competitiveness. As of the posting of this video, the parties will have until 11:59 p.m. on Thursday, September 14th to reach a tentative agreement ahead of the current contract expiration. Although it will take at least another couple weeks for employees to ratify the agreement, you would think that the UAW would hold off on any strike if mutual agreement could be reached in principle before Friday. In the meantime, the Anderson Economic Group, a Michigan-based automotive consulting firm, estimates that a 10-day strike of all 3 companies could cost the U.S. economy an estimated $5.6 billion. And in our second story of the week, we review recent developments involving a prohibition of union attire at Tesla. On Wednesday, Tesla, the National Labor Relations Board, and the United Auto Workers met before the U.S. Court of Appeals to hash out a Tesla uniform policy concern dating back to 2017. At the time, a handful of Tesla employees based in its Fremont, California manufacturing plant wore union t-shirts as part of a UAW campaign to organize workers. Tesla disallowed the employees from wearing the union t-shirts, emphasizing that their team wear policy required employees to wear black shirts imprinted with the Tesla logo or their own black t-shirts without a logo. After an unfair labor practice charge was filed, the NLRB ruled that Tesla's policy was unlawful because there was no special circumstances present that would justify a prohibition on employees' rights to organize via union-supportive attire. Although a decision is yet to be rendered by the U.S. Court of Appeals, an update provided by Reuters suggests that judges may be sympathetic to Tesla's arguments. During oral arguments on Wednesday, the Fifth Circuit judges suggested that Tesla may not have been required to prove special circumstances justifying its uniform policy, such as public image or safety concerns, because it only prohibited t-shirts and not all union insignia. A sticker says, "Go Union, Union is good," or whatever. In what way is that an insufficient means of communication? Circuit Judge Jerry Smith asked Micah Jost, who represented the NLRB. Circuit Judge Stephen Higginson similarly suggested that the ban in federal labor law on prohibiting union insignia did not mean employers must allow all union-related apparel. If you have uniforms, you have to let them still express themselves through some sort of item attachment, and Tesla would say they're doing that, and the record suggests that they are, Higginson said. So essentially, Tesla is arguing that employee rights to organize are not being infringed upon just because there are uniform rules in place, because employees have other means of expressing union support, such as wearing union buttons or other union insignia. And we'll keep an eye on the court's final decision, as any ruling in favor of the union could disrupt established precedent on employer uniform policies. Finally, in our third story of the week, and in honor of this Labor Day edition of the Weekly Recap, President Biden made an appearance in Philadelphia on Labor Day to celebrate unions and U.S. job creation. And as we have mentioned in previous videos, President Biden has repeatedly referred to himself as the most pro-union president ever. And he stuck to that messaging this week while speaking at the annual Tri-State Labor Day parade this week in Philadelphia. Biden very much appears to be using his pro-union views to gain back some of the working class vote that has defected to Donald Trump. While the state of the U.S. economy will always be open to debate, there should be little doubt that we've seen a resurgence in the labor movement under Biden's presidency that does not appear to be slowing down anytime soon. And that'll be it for this week's edition of the Weekly Recap. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and I hope you tune in next week for the next edition of the Weekly Recap. Thanks, and take care.